I have been making videos on some of the worst competitive Pokemon for a couple of years now. However, it seems like in every video that I make like that, there's always some people who don't exactly understand what competitive Pokemon is, or comment about how a Pokemon that isn't fully evolved, such as Caterpie or something like that, is actually the worst Pokemon competitively. And although you aren't exactly wrong for saying a Pokemon like Caterpie would be worse than pretty much any other Pokemon I made a video on competitively, you have to realize that Pokemon like Caterpie that aren't fully evolved aren't exactly intended to be used in competitive battles at all, so it wouldn't really make very much sense to use them in a competitive setting. Today, however, we're going to throw all of that out of the window and talk about the Pokemon that is actually the worst of them all. This includes any Pokemon that isn't fully evolved with no limitations whatsoever. This Pokemon is actually a new Generation 8 Pokemon in Sword and Shield that is also tied with Sunkern for having one of the lowest base stat totals out of any Pokemon. This Pokemon is Blipbug, which is easily the worst of them all. First, to give you guys an overview on Blipbug, it is a bug-type Pokemon with the ability Swarm, Compound Eyes, and Telepathy. Blipbug has a stat line of 25 HP, 20 attack, 20 defense, 25 special attack, 45 special defense, and 45 in speed. These stats are abysmal, but it gets even worse from here. If we take a look at Blipbug's move pool, or lack thereof, you'll see that Blipbug has access to only one move via level up, being Struggle Bug, with Infestation, Supersonic, Sticky Web, and Recover being its only egg moves that it can learn. You really only have one decent offensive move in Struggle Bug, as Infestation is more of a utility move that is a lot weaker, with the move Recover being rather useless because you have pretty much no defenses, and Sticky Web being an okay option if you really want to go for it. The name Struggle Bug is actually really fitting for this Pokemon, since it's going to be a struggle to do just about anything with Blipbug, and you'll most likely just have it in the back of your party, eating up all of your EXP from your EXP share. The abilities don't really help it out that much either. Compound Eyes is literally useless as you only have one move with 100 accuracy anyway. Telepathy could be used, I guess, in doubles if you really want, and Swarm is probably the best of the three as it does boost bug type moves when your HP is really low, but you're probably going to get one-shot by a lot of things anyway, so unless running a Focus Sash, you are most likely never going to get to use your Swarm. Even if you use Blipbug in-game playing through the story, you would probably struggle, and although you could probably complete a challenge like can you beat Sword and Shield using only a Blipbug using this Pokemon, let's face it, you can do that with literally any Pokemon as it's just a solo run and it really isn't that hard, although I have to admit that Blipbug would be probably the most challenging of the bunch for Sword and Shield. Now I know what some of you guys might be thinking, well, what makes Blipbug worse than Sunkern, or what about that one other Pokemon that technically does have a base stat total of less than 180, which we'll get to later. First off, for Sunkern, it actually has a pretty decent move pool, at least compared to Blipbug, as it doesn't consist of just one singular move and you have some options here. Sure, it isn't exactly fantastic, but at least you have access to moves like Sludge Bomb, Toxic, Giga Drain, and Swagger for some reason. The stats are a clean 30 across the board, meaning 4 of your 6 stats are technically higher than Blipbug's, although it really isn't by all that much. Only your special defense and speed are lower than Blipbug's, although it's really not by that much. I want to say that Sunkern is better because of the move pool mostly, as you are at least able to fill up 4 move slots when using this Pokemon. And as for the Pokemon that does technically have a base stat total less than Blipbug, that is Wishy-Washy, but we have to take into account the fact that Wishy-Washy can change forms into something with significantly higher base stats than the regular Wishy-Washy. Sure, Wishy-Washy isn't that great of a Pokemon either, but seeing how it has access to multiple moves and can technically increase its own base stats, it is significantly better than Blipbug. And let's be honest here, there's really no way this tiny bug can be better than a giant whale in a fight. Some people might also want to bring up the Pokemon Unknown, which like Blipbug, is notorious for only having access to pretty much one offensive move, but Unknown has much higher base stats overall, which I think make it a bit better. There is also the issue that Unknown is currently unobtainable in Sword and Shield, and since they remove Hidden Power, which is Unknown's only move that it has access to, I'm unsure how Unknown would even function beyond Generation 7 since it has no moves. So I'd say that for whatever reason you decide to use a Blipbug on your team, whether it be for competitive battles, playing through the story, or just messing around with your friends or whatever else you want to do with it. For a more offensive set, we can use Blipbug with the Swarm ability, Choice Specs item, Modest Nature, Max Special Attack, Max Speed, and for the moveset we can use the only 4 moves we have access to, being Struggle Bug, Infestation, Sticky Web, and Supersonic, although you probably just want to click Struggle move most of the time since the strongest move you have access to and has a chance of lowering your target's special attack. Now the good thing about choice specs on Blipbug is since you only have one move, you really don't have to worry about the downside of choice specs locking to one move. And we can go with a modest nature since we only have the one special attacking move to make the damage as high as possible on top of the Swarm ability. And since Blipbug has terrible HP and defenses, we might as well throw as much EVs as possible into speed to increase our chances of outspeeding anything with our low 45 base speed. In theory, what you could do, albeit it is extremely gimmicky and banned in some competitive formats, is have another Pokemon set up stat boost in speed and special attack, and then use Baton Pass to give them into Blipbug, for an overcomplicated and pretty hard to pull off sweep with Blipbug and Struggle Bug. You could technically do this Baton Pass strategy with any Pokemon in the game, although the main issue here is you're going to have a Pokemon with Agility and Nasty Plot and Baton Pass into Blipbug, and you'll need to spend about 7 turns setting all of that up to max stats so you can safely go into Blipbug to sweep. In that instance, you are probably better off using a Focus Sash anyway, since you will most likely have to take a hit when switching to Blipbug, and we all know that Blipbug most likely can't take a hit. It is possible, but extremely inefficient and pretty hard to pull off. Now for the ratings, I'm sure you guys have an idea of where this is going, but since we do this for every other Pokemon in the Worst Pokemon series, I figured why not do it for Blipbug as well. For attack, I'm going to have to give it a 0 out of 5. Reason being, you have 20 in attack and 25 special attack and 1 offensive move that isn't very good. You're not doing very much damage to anything even if you're hitting it for 4 times super effective. For defense, I will also give it a 0 out of 5. Technically, your defenses are a little bit better than your offenses as you have 25 in HP, 45 in special defense, and only 20 in defense, which combined is higher than your attack stats, but it's still not good. For versatility, I'll give it a 0 as well because there really is no versatility when you only have one move, which leads me on to move pool, which will also be a 0 since you don't really have a move pool. And last but not least, for overall viability, again, a 0 out of 5 as there's really no reason to ever use this Pokemon. Even when you're playing through the game, you are much better off having Blipbug in the back, hoarding the EXP share until it evolves and you can finally use it and use other moves on it. And that's about it for Blipbug, everybody. The actual worst Pokemon out there for now. Maybe in the future we'll get a new Pokemon worse than Blipbug in a future generation, if that's even possible, so you Blipbug fans can feel a little bit better, all 3 of you. After making this video, I'm kind of interested in actually trying one of these can you beat Pokemon with only one Pokemon type challenges using a Blipbug in Sword and Shield. It is definitely possible, as like I said earlier, it is literally possible with any Pokemon with the right preparation, but I do think that Blipbug would be one of the hardest, if not the hardest. Let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like to see that from me in the future in a live stream or in a video. Link to my Twitch in the description, by the way, should be streaming again pretty soon. And of course, let me know what you guys think of Blipbug in the comment section down below, and if there's any Pokemon that could possibly be worse than it in Sword and Shield.